Now, when it comes to my history with the character of Ben Affleck's Batman, I was a huge fan of the Christopher Nolan interpretations of Batman, and I thought that they were the best or the only interpretations of the character that should be regarded canonical, because as a lot of people back then, I thought that that interpretation was just perfect. And of course, as it turned out, that interpretation was not perfect at all. And yes, when I watched BvS in cinemas, I didn't really care for it, to be honest. I wasn't really interested in superhero movies anymore because the Nolan movies were that important and just they gave me a certain sense of closure to the superhero movie industry, if you will. And therefore I didn't really care when BvS came out, and I actually rather had negative feelings towards the film because of course the air around the film or the atmosphere around the film was pretty negative when it came to just basically trying to find a conversational line, or of course 17-year-old me had to jump on the hate train, if you will. But enter 2017 when I watched the Ultimate Edition of the movie. Now, I don't actually know why I wanted to watch the film again. Someday I remember Googling Batman v Superman and then realizing that the movie actually has an Ultimate Edition. And as I checked the reviews, people seem to be in favor of that version as it fixed a lot of issues that people had with the film initially. And I thought, alright, I'm going to give this one a chance. What do I have to lose? And I distinctly remember the feeling that I had when the credits rolled. I remember being happy and content that I watched this film. And Ben Affleck's Batman grew on me like a lot. And it is only due to that character and Zack Snyder's interpretation of that character, and Ben Affleck's of course, that I started to read actual comic books and actual comic lore rather than just playing the Arkham games and watching the movies. Now, an important aspect that I want to emphasize with this Batman is that this Batman has lost its way. Early on in the film, with his first appearance, you see how this Batman actually is present in this world. And it was such a distinct take on the character, simply because the character was categorized as a demon, that even the people who he saved were afraid of him. And of course, the movie establishes he has a rather animalistic way of dealing with criminals now, as he brands them like an animal would do. And this comes back to one of the main differences with this character, is that this interpretation deals with the man versus bat aspect. The man versus monster, if you will. What does it take to be Batman for 20 years? And how that other persona, Bat persona, can actually get a hold of the character itself, get a hold of Bruce Wayne himself. This is established early on in the film, or throughout the film even, that he has lost his way. He has lost Robin, which we later find out that is actually Dick Grayson, not Jason Todd, and that adds another extra layer, as he has lost not his second but his first Robin. And of course the Wayne Manor is destroyed, and he has no real emotional connection to anybody else other than Alfred. And even through the media, we can actually see, or even the newspapers, that he's rather represented as a vigilante, as a criminal. And this is, of course, a reference to A Quiet Place to Die, which takes place after Jason Todd has died in the comics. But yet, because of these things, because he has fallen so far, he is the most humane out of all the Batmans that we have seen on screen. Another important point when it comes to Batfleck's whole character is the design and the technology that he has. There is something definitive when it comes to his look and his suit, especially in BvS, as that suit is rather worn, it has a lot of battle scars, it actually tells you a story on its own. But one of the most important parts of that suit is his cowl. There is a famous shot, I think in one of the first teaser trailers, when Bruce Wayne is looking at the Batsuit for an extended period of time, and the camera basically pans and zooms in to the cowl of the Batsuit. And if you pay close enough attention, you can actually see that the wrinkles on the cowl are actually emitting an emotion. that emotion is just pure rage. This is why a lot of people again identify with the characters so much. Is that because we feel like we have all been there in some shape or form. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have become Batman and we have done these very things that he did, but that we have felt as lost as he did. And of course, his streamlined suit actually makes him resemble a bat or a monster, giving you this primal look about the character itself. And of course, his arsenal of weapons and his Batmobile is probably the most visually pleasing Batmobile ever created. And of course, as I have previously mentioned, Bruce Wayne's connection to the Batman is his arc throughout the whole story, is that the Bat character takes over Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne doesn't even want to combat the Bat. Leading up to the Superman fight, that the director gives us really apparent clues in the form of symbolism that this person is turning into the monster that is within himself. He can no longer contain the Bat. And one of the clear examples of that symbolism being when he visits his parents' grave. And there is, of course, the jump scare Bat, which again symbolizes how his grief and suffering has turned him into a monster. That, of course, due to that grief and suffering, it has turned into rage, and therefore it turned him into a monster. And the audience wants to see the Batman that we know and love. The audience wants to see the character as a heroic figure, even though he has never really been a heroic figure because he's a vigilante. But throughout the whole film, he is the villain right up until a certain moment in the story where he realizes that he has become the very thing he swore to destroy. Enter Martha. This Batman is probably the most emotionally driven Batman, as his guilt has consumed the man that he once was. He just cannot forgive himself that he let his parents die in the gutter for no reason at all. And I feel like this is the most realistic depiction of how that character would actually deal with this trauma. And him having the ability to save Martha allows Bruce Wayne to atone for his greatest sin, which is letting his parents, but most importantly, Martha, die. During that rescue sequence, the audience can actually witness this heroic figure again that they wanted to see from the beginning of the film, while he fights the thugs of Lex Luthor for not just saving Martha Kent, not just atoning for his own sin, but also saving his very own soul in the process. His redemption story will continue in Zack Snyder's Justice League, as he is fueled by Superman's sacrifice to seek out future members of the Justice League to stop the invading forces of Steppenwolf. This Batman is possibly the most human character. He is the one who is going to face Satan himself later down the line, Darkseid. And there may be future interpretations which explore the character in deeper ways, as Batman is only a part of Zack Snyder's 5-movie Superman story, but a caped crusader going from someone who has lost his way and wanted to murder an innocent being to forming the Justice League and going up against the Lord of Apocalypse is a journey for the history books. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you didn't, please let me know why in the comments down below. See you in the next one, and until then, remember to keep it insightful.